Hey, deserving listeners, Darcey and Stacey. Let's see what happens.
He brought up a couple of other things. So I guess during one of the dates, maybe there was a little bit, in the date I should say, there was a little bit.
Don't tell me you're going to say crying. Do not tell me you are about to say crying.
Maybe there was a little bit, in the date I should say, there was a little bit too much of alcohol consumption.
Okay, that's different. I didn't see that. We didn't see that. I don't remember that. Did we see that? I don't remember seeing that. Now, if there was, like, say, Darcey got sloppy or was slurring her words or was a different sort of Darcey, then, okay, yeah, that would be something that would be of concern. And that wouldn't be necessarily that category where you're just like, look, you're just going to have to accept me the way that I am. I get extremely intoxicated all the time, and that's just you're just going to have to find me someone that loves that about me. So I don't know. I just don't like the tone of this conversation. It's so judgmental. Even if I were on this path of inquiry, if I were Michelle, I'd be like, so I don't know, but he said that he didn't like that you drank a lot. I don't know if you even drank. So what happened? Let's talk about it. You'd think there would just be some conversation rather than just, blasting her. Now, I don't think Darcey's going to take this well. I think she's going to get defensive. She has that face of, this is ridiculous. Now, and it's hard to deal with this onslaught, but I would hope that someone in this position would just say something like, oh, well, yeah, I did drink. I don't think I drank that much. So I don't, what did he say exactly? Just some, because the other thing is, if you're Darcey, you would maybe want to know, okay, I don't know how I come across on a first date or a second date. So maybe this is a learning opportunity. Maybe I don't need to regard his opinion or even Michelle's opinion, but it's interesting to get this feedback.
To him, it was a red flag. To him, it was a red flag of like, oh, well, we're...
Interesting. Because he was ordering them for me.
But again, it's really important how you're presenting yourself.
Now, I'm reminded that when we first heard of Michelle, Darcey said that Michelle was a high-end, I think that's a phrase that's a stand-in for high-class, rich people of high status, people considered to be high class. And so if that's how Michelle advertises herself, if that's what Darcey hired her for, then I guess you get what you pay for.
I'm feeling very disrespected by Michelle. It sounds like Cicero's telling her lies about me. What is he saying? I drink too much. Why is he saying that my social media is too sexy? I feel like she's blaming me for all of this. It's not right.
Yeah, it appears that way to me too. That Michelle is saying, because you are these ways, which you could imply as some sort of message about class, I don't know. Because you're these ways, you mess it up. It's not my fault. It's not Cicero's fault. It's your fault. If you were different, everything would have been fine. I did my job. Cicero's a good person. You're the person with the problem. Now, does Darcey have problems? Yes. I'm sure Cicero does too. I'm sure Michelle does. I have problems. You have problems. Does Darcey avoid her problems? Yes. But I didn't see anything on those dates that was just like, whoa, that was a bad move. I just saw two people barely talking to each other on a very surface level, and it was awkward. There wasn't a lot of chemistry. Maybe there could have been. That's all I saw. If this was like 6 months into the relationship and Cicero had all these things to say, then okay. But Cicero, all the things that he's saying, I would just register if I were Michelle as, oh, okay. So Cicero, he just wants a different sort of person to date, and that's not a problem. It's just a preference. Okay, fine. But I'm certainly not going to go to Darcey. I mean, just imagine if this is how Tinder treated you. You are swiping right, swiping left, and then you swipe right on someone. That's the good one, right? Or that's the yes. Is that right? And then someone else swipes left on you, and then Tinder asks the person, why did you swipe left on this person? And the other person's like, well, I swiped left because I think that she's ugly and her pictures make her look like she's too much of a floozy or something. And then Tinder sends you this person that says, so by the way, we looked into it and someone swiped left on you, and it's because there's something wrong with you. You're too much of a floozy, and you're too ugly. So work on that. And just imagine if, that's everyone understands that, attraction is attraction. We could get into the weeds on that, but it's just a match. It's just a difference. It's just, especially in those early stages. So you'd think the match would be, okay, so Cicero just wasn't into Darcey as she is once he got to know her, and so he has his preferences. Darcey is the way that she is, so I'm certainly not going to change that. And so let's just live and learn instead of I'm going to blame Darcey. I either think that Michelle is trying to deflect blame, like she actually is ashamed of herself, that she did make a mistake matching them up, and she's very terrified of that, or she learned a lot of that from her own childhood, that you deflect blame in situations like that. Maybe Michelle is terrified about income. There's a good I don't know, but there's a possibility that, I just can't imagine matchmaking being that stable of a job. And your entire product is based on people having faith in your magical abilities that don't really exist because there is no science behind the ability to matchmake. Might someone be kind of good at it sometimes? Yeah, it's possible, but there's no way to lock that down. So maybe Michelle is terrified that if it gets out there on a reality TV show that she's not good as a matchmaker, then no one will want to come to her and she'll have to go back to work in whatever career she had before. Or, I don't know, she'll lose her house, or there's real worry about that. So there's something going on, but I don't know what it is. It's unpleasant to watch, though.
So what happens from here?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm not ready for the matchmaking thing.
So what you're saying to me is that you are wanting to terminate our matchmaking relationship.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, good. Yeah, I don't know what Darcey's motivation is, but if I were Darcey's friend, I would say, yeah, maybe it's for the best.
I'm sorry to hear that. Tell me what has transpired that I am not privy to.
I just feel like it's not really working out.
Okay.
I've done a lot of the work that you've suggested, being open to dating older and different types that I'm not used to. But this whole journey with matchmaking and dating has been totally disappointing. But
Okay, well, now I'm worried that Darcey will conclude that, okay, I'm never going to do any of the things that we did here. I'm not going to date someone that's my age. She says older, but I think a better phrase is her age. I don't know how old Cicero was, but definitely I think closer, right? But I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
Maybe I just need to kind of just do it on my own.
Well, okay. I attempted to highlight some of these patterns of behavior that Darcey, I don't think, is aware of.
What patterns of behavior? That she likes to dress in a certain way? That you heard from Cicero that she got intoxicated on a date that you don't even know what happened? That's all you heard? That you were matching her up with a man who said he didn't want her to dress in a way that would provoke other men to look at her in a sexual way? That he wanted to control her in that way, slut shame her or something? I don't know. What pattern did you learn? I'm just trying to remember what Michelle pointed out, that there were some things that Michelle had said earlier in the season that I was like, okay, maybe that would help. And, maybe there were a lot of things that they talked about. Of course, we're only seeing little snippets. But in terms of the way this was edited, this conversation, what pattern of behavior is she referring to exactly?
She's still single, and I can see why.
Yikes. Wow. She's a professional, right? She's not one of Darcey's friends who, has a glass of wine in her hand and is saying flippant things that are insulting. This is a professional on the job. And you would just think that she would just say, she can think in her head certain thoughts, but you would think. So here's another thing, like if she's actually trying to advertise her business, imagine seeing this. I can't imagine seeing this and saying like, yeah, that's the matchmaker for me. Someone who is that quick to judge, is that quick to just take someone else's statements about you as gospel, right? She heard things from Cicero and just, believed them without asking questions and judged Darcey. And then when Darcey's like, yeah, I don't think this is working out, which is, I think, a smart move. I was worried that Darcey would actually internalize this and say, I deserve this, and continue with this relationship. And then in the end, when Darcey draws a healthy boundary, Michelle's like, yeah, I can see why she's single. Why? What's the reasons? Because she dresses a certain way? Like, what are you saying exactly?
Highlight some of these patterns of behavior that Darcey, I don't think, is aware of. She's still single, and I can see why. One of the things that I do want to say is...
I mean, imagine if I had said something like that. Like, if I'm watching Darcey and I'm saying this and that, and I just flippantly said something like, well, I can see why she's still single. I mean, I hope I haven't said anything along those lines. I'm guessing I've said things in a more elaborate way, but if I ever have, that's just not okay. Like, it's not okay for anyone. So I guess I should point out that in all my commentary, maybe I have implied that, or I've been frustrated and said something like, she's never going to meet anyone, or she's never going to have a long-term relationship if she doesn't go to therapy. You know, it's no wonder that things haven't worked out. So yeah, I guess I've said something like that. I don't know. There's just a tonal difference. I would like to think there's a tonal difference, so I could be deluding myself.
One of the things that I do want to say is, Darcey, look back at all the failed relationships, the common denominator.
Right.
There's you.
Yeah. So I will have these conversations with clients. If I were talking to Darcey, even as a friend, I might even suggest this, but I would at least follow it up with, it's not your fault. And I certainly wouldn't say it's because of the way you dress or because you had a drink on a date. I would say all the things that I've been saying, which I don't know what Darcey would think about this, but I believe it has to do with traumas and lack of an internal sense of her own identity, which is complicated. And there's a lot of things to get into. I don't even know if those speculations are accurate. And there's a lot of subcategories to even those things that I've said that I've talked about before. So the common denominator is her, but hopefully Michelle can follow it up of like, here's my recommendation, or here are 3 things that I would recommend you change. Because so far it's just been, you dress like a slut and men don't like that. And she didn't say those words. So what she said was, Cicero didn't like that you were dressing provocatively, that other men might consider sexy. And 2, that you drank while you went on a date. So that's all she said. In terms of the edit, maybe there's a lot of other things. So hopefully she follows it up with, here are my ideas as to what that common denominator is.
And I wanted to recommend and suggest, I have some really amazing friends that are great therapists.
Wow.
Have you heard this before?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think in the midst of this entire conversation, I think Darcey is going to feel like this is yet another attack, and it could be considered that the way, I just. So on one hand, it's just hard to watch people being unfair, but 2, I have been yammering for a long time that I hope that Darcey finds a therapist that will help her. It would be kind of a shopping around process, because I'm guessing the average therapist doesn't really specialize in the sort of things that I would hope that Darcey would work on. I don't know, of course. We did see her go to one session with someone, and even the snippet that we saw was uninspiring, just put it that way. We only saw like 5 minutes of an entire session, so who knows. But Darcey is, reacting to this, and this could be yet another reason why she rejects therapy, because she's like, there's nothing wrong with me, I'm a goddess. And then she goes home and talks with her friends and talks with Stacey, and she's like, that matchmaker doesn't know what she's talking, creating this dichotomy between, which they're often wrapped up in, of I'm a goddess, I'm worthy, I deserve love, I don't deserve to be treated this way, and any implication that maybe I should look at myself and actually try to differentiate, and maybe there's some things that I need to grow or heal from. That implication is seen in the black and white version, this all or nothing of I'm not worthy, I'm never going to find love, and it's all my fault. It's either I'm completely not to blame for anything and everything is everyone else's fault, or I am 100% to blame and no one else is to blame, and I'm completely unlovable and unlikable. So I worry that this conversation will feed into that dichotomy.
Therapist.
Wow.
Have you heard this before?
No. No. I've done a lot of the inner work.
There's more work to be done.
I hired Michelle to be my matchmaker, not a shrink.
They're editing it pretty heavily. I wish we could hear the whole conversation. Michelle is a professional. We could assume that there's some expertise there. Who knows what I'd say. I'm guessing they only included the parts that would provoke people like me. So I'll give Michelle the benefit of the doubt that she finished that sentence with something that was at least in the ballpark of helpful. I don't know though.
I didn't sign up for some, mental health assessment here. It's a low blow. That shows the type of person she is. She wants to do a dig back after I said I wanted to part ways. She said I needed therapy. She needs to take her own advice.
Yeah, I was worrying about that. That in the midst of a lot of unfairness, she suggests therapy, and it will be seen as yet another dig, an insult. And I don't need therapy, how dare you, that kind of thing. It's like, wow, another reason why she will avoid therapy, I guess. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.